Hello, everyone. Welcome to Just a Conversation with Anjali and Somy. Today, you are going to meet some exceptionally extraordinary people. We have Kirit Khurana, we have Pravesh Sippy, we have Rahul Vora, and we are going to learn about their upcoming projects and what they have been working on, what they have worked on in the past. And again, our forum and our platform offers individuals to share their stories, their journeys, their mistakes, their experiences, what they have done right, what they have done wrong. And our goal for our viewers is to learn from these people's amazing experiences and from their mistakes, because no one is perfect.
So Rahul and Kirit, this is Anjali. Nice to meet you. And Somy, you all know her.
No, I don't know Rahul. Nice to meet you, Rahul.
Nice to meet you. We've been talking on the email.
Yes.
Yeah, we have seen a lot of movies. Rahul, aap Swades mein bhi the na, right? You did Swades and a lot of movies.
Yeah. Ji.
So I'll start with you, Somy, because ladies first, right?
Yeah, women's power.
So Somy, you have spent years of your life, like 9 years of your life in India. Do you have any favorite Bollywood actor or actress? Yeah.
Wow, I can actually pick and choose now because I'm not seeking a role in Bollywood anymore. So I can say whatever the heck I want. I love this. Okay, so I can actually say my least favorite and my most favorite. Who gives a crap? They're not going to come after me in America. Okay, so my most favorite person to work with was Mitunda and Sunil Shetty. And in terms of just being very, very understanding and very kind and very patient with me. Now, the best time I had in terms of fun and having a blast was on the sets of Tisra Kaun, because Chunky is a completely madman and his sense of humor is amazing. So I had a blast, and Satish ji was there, Satish Shah. It was Satish Shah, Chunky. Who else was there? There was Javed is hilarious. We had such a good time. And I was kidding about mentioning the least favorite. So yes, that's not happening.
For the record, I produced Tisra Kaun.
Yes.
Yeah, I was about to say, Pravesh, you produced Tisra Kaun, and it is absolute honor to have you in the panel. Can you talk about growing up in the industry with an unbelievably successful father? And were you always keen on being on his sets? And tell us more about your journey being on the sets and learning and evolving in the industry.
Nepotism is a big word these days here. They've just learned it. Not my fault. I was born in it. I was 1 year old and I was on the sets of a film called Gumnam on location in Goa. So that was my first flight out and my first outdoor and exotic Goa, you know. So that's where it all started. My father was not filmy in that sense of, we weren't surrounded by, you know, the typical film folk and late night parties or whatever else that people, you know, kind of visualize or believe is a typical Bollywood thing. So growing up was fairly normal. We lived actually in South Bombay by choice, which was a distance away from the workspace. So we did have a pretty regular life and a controlled life, you know, from my parents' perspective for us children. We weren't just surrounded by films and film folk. But yes, every holiday, if there was an outdoor shoot, you know, we went as a holiday and as a vacation. But by default, I was on a movie set. And I guess the interest, you know, you grow up with listening, or when a new song is recorded and, you know, dad came back home, then whether you liked it or not, or you understood it or not, you know, it was played over and over and over again and loudly. And, you know, every time someone came, we had to hear that song again and again till it was shot and filmed and all of that. So, you know, we grew up in that atmosphere, yeah. But It was great. It was fun. It was the people those days were all very different. So you know, they were all actually like, it was just uncle, auntie. You know, it wasn't a film star and a superstar that was coming home or we were going over to. You know, and we grew up with their children and played with their children. I remember going to Rajendra Kumar's house in Bandra, and he had this huge, you know, which then they later converted into their own private mini theater and all of that. But when we used to go as kids, there were these big trees with these. So we used to play Tarzan, you know, his kids and I, and we used to swing on those vines. And so, yeah, it was great fun. It was great fun growing up in the movie business.
Amazing. And your dad made amazing, incredible movies like Tisra Kaun, Gumnaam, Gharana. There are so many, and list goes on and on. I
Thank you.
love watching all those movies.
Thank you. Thank
So
you. Yes.
talking about movies, Kirit, you studied animation. What inclined you towards studying animation, and how did that interest happen?
So just like Pravesh, even I am a product of nepotism. My father was also a filmmaker. He made a lot of very, very nice films while he was at it, and he was also the Indian animation pioneer. So I grew up in a house when I was 6 or 7 years old, learning the art of animation. Where in India, around in the 70s, nobody really knew how animation is done. And my father had made some really iconic films that are even respected even today. And he's considered to be the pioneer of Indian animation. And because of the fact that I was by and large I grew up as an introverted individual. Animation was a different world where I didn't need to rely on actors. I didn't need to interact with people. It suited me fine, and I kind of built that world around myself. So I started sketching and I started doing my own animation films. And then, of course, subsequently, I felt that I was not empowered enough to create good animation or good animation films. So I went to America, I went to Canada, and I studied filmmaking over there for 3 years, specializing in animation, and then subsequently worked with the National Film Board of Canada for 2 years, and made a couple of films for them. And so that's how sort of my journey started off. But obviously, because of the fact that the house that I grew up in, I think by and large, and my dad never really stayed in animation. He moved over to live action. So for him, animation was just a medium of telling a story, and then he moved to live action. He made really good classic cult films in that space as well. So he got a lot of accolades in that. So pretty much, I think, as much as I would not want to mirror what he did, I am kind of following a similar trajectory or path where beyond animation, over the past 8-10 years, I moved into a space which is more in the storytelling zone, where I'm doing a lot of live action stuff. In fact, right now I'm doing only live action stuff, very little of animation. So that's really what's been my journey so far.
So you're already a 6-time international award winner, right? So you have created amazing amount of work, and we all love your work. As you both are together, you and Rahul, are you guys working on some same project, or you guys just happen to be together, if I may ask?
We're not working on some project together, but yeah, I mean,
something is cooking.
Rahul and my son are working on a project together. So that's how it's happening. But Rahul, we while we were driving back from my mom's place today, so we just happened to kind of meet Rahul on the way, and sort of that's how sort of everything has happened in an impromptu way. So that's interesting as well.
So Rahul, I am completely blown away and highly impressed by your profile, because you have worked in TV and theater genre. So which is your favorite, acting in TV or working in theater?
Well, like any other theater actor, I would say theater, absolutely, for various reasons. One being what we call instant gratification, because you're right there and you have an immediate response with the audience. So you're You're sensing their pulse, you're feeling their pulse, you're actually living and breathing their lives, and they're living a vicarious life through you in those 1 or 2 hours, and at the end of it, sort of we all have had a very shared experience together. Also, the second and more important aspect of it is that in theater there are no retakes. There's no cuts and retakes.
Yeah.
You start and the show has to. Firstly, the show must go on. If there's a show at 8 p.m., it will go on at 8 p.m. Whether you are lula, langda, kapde aaye, nahi aaye, you've done your makeup, not done your makeup, something's happened, your throat is bad, you have to do the show.
It's
8 p.m.
organic, right? It's just.
It's organic. The show must go on. Number one. Number two, it's entirely an actor's medium. So the director spends 2.5, 3 months before, including conceptualizing and then rehearsing the shows, and then at the end of it, he can just sit and be a mute spectator, and that's it. He can't do anything when the show is happening. It's in the actor's hands. In terms of cinema, we are just putty. We are just another element in the hands of the director. Just one more element. It just so happens that we are the only human element, so we become the known faces and the stars. But otherwise, we are just one more element amongst the 50 or 60 elements that are involved in filmmaking. You can go from animation to sound design to Foley to cinematography, the costumes, the makeup, the lighting, and there's so many elements to filmmaking, and that's entirely a director's medium. So he just says, do this for me and that's enough. You just do that and that's enough. And then it's the director's job. He spends 2 years or 1 year making it and turning it into a masterpiece.
Wow.
Yeah.
This is incredible. And you have acted in 4 different languages. That is impressive. So do you speak 4 different languages, or used to rehearse your dialogues, or do you actually speak? I would love to know, and our audience would love to know that.
Yeah, actually, I am fluent in 4 languages. I have native proficiency in at least 3. So English, Hindi, and French, I do like a native, and I can get along in many other languages. Yeah.
Wow.
Amazing. Wow.
Yeah,
So Somy, you have worked in Pravesh production for Teesra Kaun, and something happened on these sets, like you got sick, or there was some incident, right?
Yes, so I pretty much died almost, basically. So we were shooting this started happening. I'm in the hotel room, right? Where were we, puppy? Where were we? We were in Bangalore.
In Chennai.
Chennai.
We were in Bangalore and we came into Chennai.
Okay, so we were in Chennai, and so at night I started getting this pain in my stomach. And so I'm like reciting all these verses from the Quran, because my dad said that will take the pain away if you're ever in trouble, whatever. Keep in mind, I was like 18. So I'm like saying all these verses from the Quran, and the pain is not going away. And then I'm like, it's like in the morning, I'm putting on makeup and getting ready we were filming a song actually. And so I go to Puppy in the morning all ready with my makeup, and I'm like, Puppy, listen, my side of my stomach is hurting. It's really bad, but I've been reciting verses from the Quran, so I think I'll be fine. And he's like, my friend, I think your appendix might burst, so we need to get you to the doctor like now. And I'm like, nay, let's get through the song. And they're like, Sippy uncle, they were like, no, you're going to the hospital now. They get me to the hospital. Literally, the doctor said, had you not come in within an hour, your appendix would have burst and you would have lost your life. So I owe my life to Sippy uncle and Puppy here. That's what happened.
Wow.
And then after that, after my appendix was taken out, I obviously survived because I'm here. We completed the song.
Guys, isn't this an amazing story? You guys can totally make a movie on this story.
A production company saved my life.
Yeah. So, what is the last projects and this question is for all of you, what is the last project you guys were working on, and given the circumstances and this pandemic happened, how did you cope up with the situation on your current or last?
I'm going to start talking about it and hand the baton over to to Kirit because as the creative guy and the director on the project, there's a lot more that he will, share with all of you. But basically, it just so happened because of the time and the pandemic and all of that, we've got two projects back to back. One film called it's a feature film. It's called The River of Love. That's in the festival circuit now, being seen by global audiences. We've started picking up awards. Awards is a habit with Kirit, so thank you, Kirit. We've been really starting to pick them up. That's on its way. We are busy promoting that and pushing it in the festival circuit. So that's become my full-time job and responsibility, because the work for Kirit on that is pretty much over and done with. But we're together on another fantastic project called The Invisible Visible. The Hindi title is Ek Koshish. And for this one, because it's such a fantastic project that is going to, in my opinion, transcend barriers and go worldwide if we just get the right support. So I'm going to let Kirit talk about that particular film, because it's very important for you and for all people watching this show to know about this film. And that's the real reason why Kirit and I, work on projects like these. We want to make this world a better place. So Kirit, can you please tell them all about The Invisible Visible?
I'll try, and you can fill in the gaps wherever needed. So basically, the invisibles, as they are known, is the people who are the homeless, right? The homeless people in India or wherever in the world basically are known as the invisibles. And the reason for that is because you may be walking on the street, but you really don't see them. You really don't notice that they are there. They are like the invisibles. And India today has 70 million people. 70 million people. That's almost like the population of, let's say, Germany. How much is the population?
France is 70 million.
70 million people actually on the streets, right? And I met this incredible guy called Tariq Mohammed, who's working with the homeless in India. And in 2015, and that was the time that actually I was making another important documentary.
His name sounds familiar. I've read somewhere about Tariq Mohammed. His name sounds very familiar.
The Forbes Award.
Maybe, yeah. Forbes under 30 list. He was the,
Awesome. So he's on the Forbes under 30. He's a kind of a reticent kind of a guy, very, very focused on what he actually does and very committed in what he does. So it took me 2 or 3 years to actually convince him that he should do this documentary, because he is so extraordinary and he runs a very small but a very committed organization, and we actually get to understand the plight of the homeless through his eyes and through his organization. So we've actually shot for 52 days across India. Okay, we shot across India. It's a documentary.
So you traveled all over the places in India?
Many cities, including Bihar and UP and Delhi and interiors of Maharashtra as well. Wherever his organization is called Koshish, we traveled along with that. And the remarkable thing about Tariq is, of course, his incredible commitment towards the poor people, towards these homeless, these poor, disenfranchised, the most marginalized people in this section of society that actually the world does not even want to, the government just wants to wish away, and they are completely disenfranchised that, the government doesn't really care because they are not a vote bank. And the first thing that, one of the things that Tariq does, obviously, to rehabilitate them and to make sure that many of them have lost their homes. They left their homes from villages because of some problem or because of hunger or whatever. He rehabilitates them and repatriates many of them. So they have a background. When you see an old person on the street, he's not necessarily grown up on the streets and become old, right? I mean, if he's 60 or 70 or he or she, whoever, they have a history, they have a family, they have lived their lives. And it is this humanizing the homeless that the film actually does, which is that we've taken certain cases and we've humanized them, and we've said, these are people like you and me. It's just that life has dealt them a different set of cards, and you look at them in a different way. So one of the things about the documentary, of course, we've done the rough part, is that when you look at these people, you all of a sudden you will start noticing people on the streets, and you will start noticing the homeless, and you will start noticing that these people matter, and as they are as important as you and me in terms of
Definitely.
you cannot discount anybody's life. It is okay, you dismiss them off, and like you're a homeless person, so therefore you don't exist, that kind of a thing. So this kind of a passion, this kind of a compassion rather, displayed by Tariq and his team is quite extraordinary. It moved me to tears many times when he speak about certain incidents, and there's so much of dignity in there, because when we look at them, there is a certain narrative that, oh, these are beggars, and they are crooks, and they are criminal, and this and that, and all kind of other narratives go on in our heads. But the fact of the matter is that many of them have far more dignity and far more integrity than many people sitting in privileged homes and living privileged lives. It doesn't matter from what background you come from. And that's the most extraordinary part about the whole thing. And so it took me on a journey for several years to understand what was happening. I did several recce's, and then last year I shot the film. So right now we're in the post-production. We are getting some help from some people in the US, and I will not name them till they are firmly on board. But we're looking for more people to come on board and join us, because we are still looking for some gap funding on that. And Pravesh is my co-conspirator in that. He's the executive producer on the film. We have some great team members. We also have support from Balki and Gauri Shinde, the top two filmmakers. So they are helping me put the film together in the post production.
I think they made English for English, right?
Yeah.
And Art Walke made Padman and Pa and all those movies with Amitabh Bachchan or Akshay Kumar.
They have been associated with the project as well, so they've been very kind, because they once I kind of shared what I was doing, they were very deeply moved by what the power of the project is. So it's an impact film, which I'm hoping will not only sensitize the bureaucracy to the issues and to the people that that need to be looked into, but it will also change a lot of draconian laws, a lot of archaic laws that actually that allow the authorities to put these people in jail just for the fact that they can't afford to buy a house, or just because of the fact that they are living on the streets, but making a living out of living on the streets, or doing some labor work. Somebody's using a hand cart, somebody's doing other kind of a street vendor or whatever. They don't have a permanent home, and just by the virtue of the fact that, but just by the thing that they don't have a home, they can be actually put in jail because they're sleeping on the streets.
Can you shed light on a typical day of Tariq? What's his typical day? Just walk us through his typical day for our viewers to understand. What does he do? And also, I would like for you to talk about where he actually rescued little girls from being raped. Can you shed light on that, please?
So the first part of the question, he doesn't have a typical day. It's okay. Basically, he is one of the few individuals I know who's working at the advocacy level, which is he is working with the lawmakers to change the law. Okay. So he's working with top advocates, he's working with top lawyers, he's working with top activists and human rights individuals to change the laws. And that is in the power center that is in Delhi. So he has a huge network there where he tells them that these laws need to be repealed in this manner. And the second thing,
you covered that in your film, that where he's going out and trying to make those amendments. Have you covered that in your documentary?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
And so all those stakeholders have also been covered, because there are many stakeholders there, right? It's not just him. It's not one person crusade. Right. We have covered it through his eyes, but there are many, many crusaders out there.
Right.
But the wonderful thing about Tariq is that where does he get the information of what specifically needs to be changed? He started by working in prisons. So there are beggar homes that are prisons. So if a beggar is picked up on the street, he is put in a beggar's home, which is like a prison, right? And he saw sewage water coming from a drinking tap, and he saw those beggars drinking from the sewage tap. It was absolutely sewage water, dirty water, and then they were drinking from there. There were dead bodies lying there and carcasses lying there, lying unattended for a week, and rats were eating in the dead bodies. Now he has changed a lot of this. I know it sounds gross, but this is what it is. This was the reality before he got it, right?
People
So
need to know that.
and he started working on this for 17 years. So he has seen that. And he has cried, and he, as a 17-year-old, he has cried, and he's got depressed, and he broke up with his girlfriend, and a lot of things have happened, and he's given up his life, and he comes from a very wealthy family, but his family feels for him. His family feels for the fact that, why do you have to work with this poor people? Why don't you just do your good deed, give them some money, and just get on with your goddamn life? He says, no, if I don't take care of them, who will? That is the important part to understand. Somebody got to take care of them. Aren't they not human beings? And so he has dedicated his entire life. He comes from a very privileged background. He comes from a very, very wealthy family. But when you meet him, you do not get an inkling of that at all. You do not. And so his intelligence or his information of what really needs to change, because you can keep rehabilitating people. You can keep changing one centers here and there. Some beggars home, some rehabilitation, some shelter here and there. You can keep changing them. Those individual things you can keep changing. But the system is, if the systemic change is not happening, if the laws are still, there are some more people being arrested every single day, and then they are put in jails. So it's a vicious circle. So he has started to work to change the system. So the systemic changes are happening. And now he's been appointed by the Supreme Court of India to actually audit the shelter homes.
Wow.
So there are shelter homes being done, and he does the audits. So even of the shelter homes, there are rapes happening within the shelter homes.
Yes.
Girls are being raped within the shelter homes.
Yes.
There was a famous Muzaffarpur, if you Google, Muzaffarpur incident that happened where 36 girls were raped and molested by politicians close to the chief minister, right? And that entire case was unearthed because of one man's crusade. Of course, he had an entire team. And that man is Tariq, because he had taken responsibility to audit all the centers within Bihar. And so he found out a lot of nefarious activities happening in many of those centers, but three or four centers, there was a lot of nefarious activities happening, but one of them was absolutely brutal and absolutely inhuman. And this was Muzaffarpur. He got a lot of death threats. So he had a lot of FIRs against him. He had a lot of police against him. He had a lot of, but he's absolutely fearless, undaunted, and the entire system. And he was even offered personal protection because there were people who were trying to kill him. But he moved on. He says, no, I'm not going to accept any of that, because if I do that, they can pay off those guards and they can still kill me. Right? Everybody can be bought. He says, if they have to kill me, let them kill me. No problem. I'm going to do what I have to do. And so that's who he is as a person. So he's a Damascus sword is hanging on his head all the time. Right. But he was undeterred. He knows he has to do this. And he has absolutely no reason to do it. He has absolutely no reason to do it. Right. It's not like he has a past by which he went through personal abuse or whatever. No, he's just a compassionate person. Comes from a very well-to-do background. But he's just a person with a heart. And that's it. And that's who God has made it.
Well, it's highly commendable. He's a very, very admirable human being, and I am just in complete awe of his work and complete awe of this human being. Where is your film now? What point is it completed? Where are you with the filming process of it?
So I'll interject for a moment, Kirit. Sure. I couldn't stop myself. I'm extremely proud of you, your team, Pravesh ji, and Tariq Muhammad for picking this subject, because this subject is phenomenal. This is wonderful initiative, and I'm so proud of you guys for working on such meaningful subjects, because at the end of the day, we all are human. Our blood color is same. Our skin color is even the skin color is different, but we have same feelings, we have same heart, we have same emotions. So I'm amazingly impressed with this subject, and
The best
really proud
part
of
is,
you guys.
and you're right, Anjali, because the best part is that he doesn't have to do this.
He doesn't have to do
Need
it.
to do it. He's taken that initiative, and in spite of the death threats and in spite of the dangers, he puts himself out there and does it irrespective of all of that. So tell us about where you are with your filming right now.
So I'll just share a little bit about the process as well. So how it works is that if you go and tell any producer, listen, I'm making a film on the homeless and it's a documentary that I'm making on the homeless, and they will ask you, what is the market value of the film?
Right.
And you say, it's not about market value, it's about an issue that is very pertinent and requires urgent attention, and it needs to be brought into the fore. It's a story that needs to be told.
Right.
They'll say, okay, fine, we'll get back to you, and they never get back, right?
Right.
So I have learned through the years that I've made a lot of films on social causes, that I've learned through the years that the best way to go about doing what you really want to do and what you really heart reaches out to do is to put your own neck on the line, or you put your own money. So you put your money where your mouth is, right? And I have funded these films in the past as well myself, and I'm still funding many. There's some other projects that we're doing. And because of the fact that I'm from an advertising background, I've always kind of cross-subsidized, which is, I don't look at how much money the film is going to make. I always look at the film has to be worthy, it has to be one of the best, it has to be truthful, it has to be honest. And if I take the money, if I use my own money, then I can be truthful and honest about what I want to say and how I want to say it, right? Within my understanding of what the subject is. And therefore, I have put my own money behind the project, and money basically comes from advertising, and I've cost-subsidized it. Now, with the pandemic, obviously, we were in the post-production, which is that we've shot for 52 days. We've been through everything. The post-production, unfortunately, got stalled because of the COVID. And that's where we are, that we're stuck at the post-production. We have a rough cut. We have everything, all the material shot. We have 80 hours of material. And we're looking at completion funds. And we're looking at a combination of donations or equity or whatever partnerships that can help us get the resources of, we have editors and music directors and sound designers waiting to kind of finish the project, but I need funds to kind of
May I ask how much are you lacking?
So right now, the project cost, we kept it very minimum. We kept it at 100,000 US, and about 80,000 US has already been invested from my end.
So you're in need of $20,000 to complete the project, correct? And may I ask, what is the duration of the film?
As I told you, if it's a rough cut right now, I'm not sure about the exact duration, but I can give you a very fair indication. It's between an hour and 15 minutes.
Okay.
It's a feature documentary.
It's documentary, right?
Okay.
But a feature-length documentary.
Feature-length documentary.
So like Kirit, you said that you are accepting donation also. So if somebody wants to go and make the donation, how can they find you? Where is there any website where they can reach out to you or make some donations you want to mention?
Can
we create something? Can we create, like Anjali and I would love to create something?
Yeah, maybe fundraiser for that subject or something like that if you don't already have something existing.
So the teaser trailer and the screener for the film are available on YouTube anyway.
Okay. Would you mind if Anjali and I took the initiative to create some sort of fundraiser for it? Would that be okay? Okay.
Love to.
Okay, and we can use we have permission to use your trailer, correct?
Right. Okay. And we can even link everything in the bio under this interview so everyone can go ahead and watch it and understand the value of the subject.
Right.
I'll share. I could share some more of the professional, the pitch deck and the other information I'll share everything with both of
Send
you.
me, Puppy, send me everything. And then Anjali and I would like to create something. And I would also like to email some of my contacts that I think would be keen on partaking in this project. So thank you so much for sharing this amazing story. I mean, Anjali and I are in awe of this person. Yeah. We commend you, Puppy. You know, you're my favorite for years. So, but really, this is an amazing project, and thank you so much for taking this initiative. And I hopefully one day Modi will give me the visa, and I look forward to coming and meeting with Tariq Muhammad personally.
Oh, you can do that.
I second that. I have visa. I'll come and meet.
Hey, if I become a producer, I better get a visa.
So Rahul, are there any current projects that you are working on? And you would
yeah. So I just wanted to add a couple of things to what my dear friends and senior colleagues, both Pravesh and Kirit, and we do share a lot of fantastic ideas together. But this is a marvelous one. I have to, at the risk of being shot by him, I have to correct Pravesh. When he says that Kirit has been collecting awards, I would put it the other way around. I think awards have been collecting Kirits for the recent.
Yes. Big hands for that.
And Pravesh as well, because he's just managed to choose the most exquisite projects. I mean, between and they were both talking of a little bit of a nepotistic kind of childhood that they grew up in. But if you were just to dig, just not even dig the surface, just scratch the surface, you will realize that between these two houses, between Kirit's family and between Pravesh's family, have been produced some of the most iconic cinema of India and modern day India. You know, some of the most iconic and most exquisite films beyond their times.
Wow.
Okay. Way beyond their times. I mean, I could name it, but that's a topic for another seminar. We can look into that at some other point. But between the two, he spoke of animation and his father's films. The film that we all grew up in, I grew up with, was that Garonda, of course, which
Garonda with Amol Palekar.
With
Oh
Amol
yeah,
Palekar,
my husband's
which we
all-time favorite
distributed.
movie.
Yeah.
What
And
is
We
it called?
distributed that. We distributed that.
Wow.
So his father and my father did business together, and at that time he and I didn't know each other, and here we are today.
And also,
What was the movie called? I'm sorry, I missed it.
Garonda?
Garonda,
Garonda. Who was in it? Amol.
Amol Palekar and Zarina Wahab.
Reena Wahab looking for a home in Bombay, suburban Bombay. It's
Oh,
an
I have
excellent
to watch it. I missed
movie.
that.
So you must watch it. Must watch it. It's
I
beautiful.
feel like it's a Somy movie. I have a feeling.
Yeah,
It is.
It could be. So the second film that was, of course, what your dad had made, that Egg Gileri, that beautiful animation film that we all grew up with. It's a film that talks of the syncretic culture that India is. You know, the absolute sort of cornucopia of various cultures that India is. It's a beautiful film that has remained in our memories. As a child, I heard it and I saw it, and it stayed with us. Unfortunately, both these esteemed gentlemen have never worked with me, so I've had to rely upon the next generation.
Nepotism is good. It's not bad. It's good. It's all good.
So I have to tell you that I'm working in. I'm proud to be working in a new director's film called Kabir Khurana, who happens to be Kirit's son.
Yeah.
You know. But we've just shot a wonderful film together during the lockdown called Sutta Bazi. Yeah. It'll be out soon. The trailer's out. I think we can share the trailer with them.
Sure. And I'm already extending you and your son invitation for just a conversation. Next episode.
apart from having, of course, Rahul, one of the highlights of Sutta Bazi is Renee Sen, Sushmita's daughter, is actually debuting in the
Sushmita Sen's daughter's making her debut, yeah.
Wow.
So she is debut there. So
Wait, Sushmita's daughter?
Yeah, she adopted 2 girls.
I know Sush very well. Her daughter's coming in a movie?
yeah, so that's being directed by my son.
Oh, wonderful. Wonderful. I didn't know that. That's excellent.
Somy, we have to bring full cast in Just a Conversation moving forward in some of the episodes and talk about this subject and in detail.
I know. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Maybe you can separate talk with the Suttabazi team, which is Rahul and Kabir and Rene and Komal and everybody else.
Yeah.
But we would love our audience to get little gist of this movie in this episode. What this is what the Suttabazi is about. The name sounds fun.
What's the premise?
So the premise is it's a coming of age film between a typical family lockdown in this pandemic, and sort of a teenage daughter dealing with her parents and everybody trying to sort of figure out their own equations during this lockdown. And it's if I may say so myself, I shouldn't be saying it, but if I may say so myself, it's a very serious tragico-comic kind of look at today's times.
Interesting.
Sutta means basically smoking.
Yes,
right?
Right.
Suttabazi essentially is about three people in the house smoking due to stress, and neither of them knows that the other person smokes. So
This sounds fun.
everybody's doing it clandestinely. But at the end of the day, of course, it's about relationships, and it's about reconciliation and trying to tolerate each other in this time when you're locked into one house and you're not looking eye to eye with each other.
Oh, we must have this as a interview. We must have this.
We must. I'm already loving this subject. How can they hide smoking a cigarette, because it smells so strong? It's difficult to hide being in the same house.
Watch the film.
Papi, can you tell me the premise of the river? What is that called? What's the premise of that movie?
The River of Love.
River of Love. Give me a little gist of it.
It's in the space of mystical realism. That I think says it all. It's a journey about two people. It's set in Banaras, and it's a journey on the Ganges with these two people who are complete strangers. One is looking to he's amnesic, so he's looking to find himself and everything about himself. So he's on that path and a journey, and this girl with him is on a journey to forget everything about her and her life, and how the two of them are together. And I'm not going to reveal the end.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's beautiful.
You have to watch the movie, Somy, to know
It's
the end.
very mystical. It's very mystical. It's beautifully shot. The sound design is terrific. The acting is terrific. Akash Khurana, who's acted, has directed the film as well. And Akash is not related to Kirit. It's just the same last name. But there's a lot of help and a lot of input from Kirit, creatively guiding us through the process of getting the film made. So thank you, Kirit. Thank you again.
Excellent. Kirit, you're a hero to so many. You're an amazing person.
Yeah.
So happy to have met you. It's wonderful.
Yeah.
I'm just drawn towards whatever I'm drawn towards. It's something that the subjects call me. I don't look for subjects.
I know the feeling. Trust me. I know the feeling.
I wanted to say something, if I may interject here in terms of your film, which you're doing, Ek Koshish.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're aware, there is an act called the Bombay Beggary Act of 1860.
So that's 19.
Isn't it 59?
1860.
Oh, 1860.
18 something.
Bombay Beggary Act.
Yeah, it was in the English Times. 1863 or 1860, something like that. I'll get it out for you.
No, that's the film is based on that, and it's 1959.
Yeah.
That's what I thought. It was 1959.
Fact of soliciting of arms under the pretext of singing, dancing, music, and this and that and everything.
And then you can put them in here.
Yeah. So that's
1959.
So
elaborate on that act.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Elaborate on that.
Yeah. Okay. Let me see. Maybe you're right. It's 1959 because there was I did a lot of work with traditional artists and who are street performers and street artists, and it was exactly that. The cops had the right to just pick them up and put them into jail just by virtue of the fact of being on the streets and performing. Yeah. And that's, please understand. I'm sure you will be able to shed more light on it, but it is the most democratic form of performance, because you first give yourself in performance and then ask for a payment to if you like it, you pay for it.
Right.
Whereas if you go into a movie theater or in a theater, you pay through your nose to say buy a ticket that makes you sit in front, $600 or $500 to watch a musical, and you want to walk out in the first 5 minutes and you can't get a refund. There's no refund counter at the ticket counter.
Right.
So here, these people are performing in the middle of the street, and they just say, if you like the show, here's my hat, put some money in it.
Yeah.
Right.
I think it's a fabulously democratic way of doing things.
And the law is so draconian. In fact, the entire film is based around the law of how to tear this law down, because this Bombay Beggary Anti-Beggary Act of 1959, Bombay Anti-Beggary Act, essentially can put people who are indulged in the act of beggary or on the suspicion of beggary, which is that if you see somebody who's wearing clothes that are unkempt, or you see an individual who's walking around aimlessly or just sitting on the streets, there are so many people we interviewed who are gainfully employed, maybe a taxi wala, but because he was just taking a break and he was sleeping on the streets, right? And in between his rides, he was sleeping on the street, and they've been picked up and they've been sent to jails, right? And when they are released after 14 days, many of these individuals who are gainfully employed, they lose their employment, because if they're released after 14 days, their employment is gone. Somebody else is taking over the place, because the employer is not sympathetic towards their cause that they have been picked up from the streets. So it's a very draconian act, and one of the things that we're attacking in the film is the act that needs to be toned down. That needs to be.
But what is the status of the act now, currently?
Like it is happening in the world, the government is going through all kind of other issues, and there are various other priorities that come down, which are so-called priorities, where really it's all about consolidation of power. A lot of it is about consolidation of power. A lot of it is about staying in power and about managing or changing the social fabric of the nation, as opposed to really trying to address issues that are important.
Right.
And so I don't want to get into too much into that, but the government's priorities, not just this government, but the previous governments also has always been, the socialism aspect of it is just lip service for most part.
Of course.
We're not really truly a very, very sympathetic or empathetic society. We're really far away from it.
If I may make a very bad pun, it's all about building walls.
Yeah, it's all good.
Yes, very apropos pun there. Perfect. But we will get there. We have to stay optimistic. We will get there.
Yeah.
Let me get my visa, and you see what we're going to accomplish. Starting from Taj Mahal, and then we'll take it from there.
Yeah.
All right, Anjali, your forum. Take away.
So Somy, we're talking here about such productive and wonderful initiatives, amazing projects. Looks like cinema has evolved. Bollywood, Hindi film industry has evolved. Where you have worked in the Bollywood in 90s era, do you have any regrets besides from some obvious ones?
You couldn't resist, could you? Okay. Half of them are oblivious. He's completely aware, but I'll let them remain oblivious. Okay. So regrets and mistakes, of course, I have. So imagine being 16 in a country where you're staying in Sirak Hotel and your dad says, all right, I'm going back to Pakistan. I have business to attend to. You're on your own, kiddo. So yeah, mistakes and regrets, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of mistakes. Regrets, zero. Because it made me who I am today. Yes. If I had not dealt with those situations, and if I had not endured what I endured, I wouldn't be who I am today. And I don't think there would be no more tears. And I don't think 30,000 men, women, and children would have been rescued because of my experiences in India. I have one incident that I want to talk about. So I faced discrimination twice in my life. First time I faced discrimination is when I was 11 or 12, when I moved to the US, and I was told, this was 1986 or 1985, I believe. I was told, oh, go back on the camel that you came on, or they would call you sand niggers and all these derogatory terms. That's the first time I experienced discrimination. And then when I went to India, so having been born in Pakistan, unfortunately, I had to report to the CID office every time I had to leave for, let's say, if Papi, his film shoot is outside of Bombay, I had to go to the CID office and get permission, get a stamp on my passport that I'm leaving Bombay, and I'm going to, let's say, Shimla, Kulu Manali, wherever, in case I was connected to a terrorism group for some reason. So I had to get permission from them. And I remember one of the officers, the CID officers, now keep in mind, I'm 17, going in his office to get my passport stamped. And he told me, he said, don't you know we hate Pakistanis? Why are you working here? Why aren't you working in Pakistan? And I just started crying. And I said, well, I'm actually here because the person I love is in India and he's Indian. So I was like this kid bawling, crying, facing discrimination for the second time in my life. And I tried to tell him, I was like, why do you hate Pakistanis? We're all the same. And I'm trying to lecture this guy. And at that point, I realized one day I'm going to be a human rights activist. I think that's where the activism kicked in right then and there. And then I went back to the person I told him that I love, and that I told him what happened. And we went the next day to the CID office with him, and that guy put him in his place. And I'm so proud because that guy got fired. And I'm really, really proud of myself. Of course, it wasn't my power, but the other person's power that got him fired. But that's the second time I faced discrimination in my life. That was in India. Aside from that, every time Pakistan and India played cricket, oh Lord, the pressure on me was, who are you rooting for? Who do you want to win? And I was like, I'm from Florida. I don't care. I don't care about cricket. I don't care about Pakistan. I'm from Florida and I don't care about sports. As far as mistakes, tons and tons of mistakes. I trusted so many people. I was very gullible. I believed everyone. And, if someone told me something, I would be like, oh yes, they're right. And then someone told me the opposite thing. I was like, yeah, they're right. So I was a kid. I didn't know. So lots of mistakes. Again, no regrets.
Awesome. Yeah, we all are human and we learn from our mistakes, right? And on this note, I'll give you all this forum and ask away if you want to ask any question from anyone in the panel. Please ask.
Wait. I want to ask, we all talk about ourselves, but I want to ask you a question, like a couple of questions about you, because we want all these people to know how amazing you are. So your platform is Designer Dream Collection. Now tell me, when did your love for fashion begin? How did this happen?
My love for fashion began in the childhood, ever since I was born. But last year in 2019, I launched my collection in New York Fashion Week, where I styled 22 models, including one pregnant, from size 0 to size 16.
Wow.
From Asian to all beauty pageant holder, including Miss New York, Miss New Jersey, Miss Bharat, Ohio. And the gown that was worn by the showstopper that was featured on the cover of Milan, Italy, leading fashion top magazine cover.
What?
And I worked in beauty pageant, including Miss India, Miss US, and a lot of pageants as a stylist and designer. So that's really
Talk about being humble, lady. Amazing. That's bravo. Wow. Amazing. Okay, now $1 million question. So what prompted you to start Just a Conversation?
Okay, that's a good one. I believe as humans, we all have struggled and we all have come, we all struggle and come over the obstacles, and we all have stories, inspirational stories, not just celebrities, anyone who has, come over all the hurdles in their life. Their stories, they need to be given a platform, and their stories need to be told, because there's so much to learn. As human, we all make mistakes and learn from that. So I wanted our audience to know about those stories and believe that nothing is impossible and anything can be done if you have passion and right motivation towards doing something, to learn from those stories and evolve.
Well said, well said. And we all know Papi has several faults. God.
Yeah.
But I can put out a motivational story in continuation to what she said, because
Please.
I'm battling an autoimmune disease over the last decade. And through it all, where there have been ups and downs where I could literally not move, I have ended up making or associating on some great films through this period of time, contributing very positively to them. There was a film called Mukti Bhavan in the international circuit called Hotel Salvation, 36 awards internationally, huge success, released almost everywhere in the world. So from Mukti Bhavan to doing some great work with Kirit, we did a film on Saeed Mirza, the filmmaker, called Saeed Mirza, the Leftist Sufi. We're doing The Invisible Visible. We finished The River of Love. And I also did another documentary called My Home India, which has won several awards and gone to the best festivals. We were also in the long list for the Oscars last year on merit as an independent film that released theatrically in New York and in LA. Not as an Indian entry or promoted by a group from here, but purely on merit as a film. We made the Oscar long list on merit. So I've worked through it all, and I just want to tell everyone, based on the fact that we're sitting here on this platform with the real reason why she's created this show, is, like she said, you overcome your hurdles. As long as there's passion, there's focus, there's dedication and sincerity, you can go out there and work around your problem, but you can get it done, and you can do a great job.
Absolutely. I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of you. I love you. And, you're like my brother, and I've known you for 25 years, and I'm so proud of you. I'm just speechless. I'm so proud of you. You're amazing. You're amazing.
I second that, Pravesh, including me and everyone in the panel and our audience. We all are so proud of you.
Thank you.
Very inspirational story.
All right. Do we have any other questions, Anjali?
No, we are good. Kirit and Rahul, if you want to ask anything, just feel free. And if you don't,
I just want to tell you something. Pravesh, if you remember, we spoke earlier this evening, and I said I'm just dropping in to see Kirit for 10 minutes because we had just bumped into each other on the road. And the real reason why we are doing this conference together is because Saeed Mirza dropped in. So we had an amazing 2.5 hours of conversation with him.
Awesome.
And then of course, I was very kindly invited for dinner and said, let's do this thing together. So, and I've been unashamedly sort of plugging our film Suttabazi with you guys, but that's something that you have to take another call on.
I can't wait to watch it, and we want to have all of those people on our panel, 100%.
Definitely.
But wait, we have a question. We had one question for Rahul, actually. Do you remember we wanted to address? I'll ask you, Rahul. Yeah. What is the political or the status or the public status on the caste system in India right now? Do you have anything to say about that?
How many years do we have now left to talk?
We have about 20 minutes.
Okay. Yeah.
Papi, stay awake or I'll kill you.
Papi is so sleepy.
Utho, jag utho, insaan.
Yeah.
I've been through this. I know he can speak for the next 24 hours.
Okay, no, 20 minutes, go.
Well, not 20 minutes, but it's a very clear and present danger in today's day and times. We all live it. We were, in fact, we just spent 2.5 hours discussing it out of the blue. We did nothing related to what we were going to talk about, but it's so clearly present in our day-to-day lives today that we were discussing, the concept of being a Dalit in India, or an untouchable or a lower caste person in India, and the very fact of having this privilege, like Said just said, having this privilege of saying which school did you study in, which car do you drive, which home do you live in, which society do you live in, is already an understated privilege that you possess, right?
Right.
Try asking the person who's in a village or in a slum, what house do you live in, or what car do you drive, or which school did you go to? And the person says, yeah, under that tree, that tree was my school because this teacher came from 60 kilometers away, maybe. I'm not trying to romanticize this. I'm not trying to make a very, La Vie en Rose kind of a, through rose tinted glasses or pink tinted glasses kind of a life about poverty in India. But it's a very clear and present danger. His film and their film with Pravesh and Kirit, Tariq's whole work is all about this. It's all about what happens when there is no privilege,
But I find it preposterous that the term untouchable, I mean, first of all, you can touch them in itself is ridiculous, that you can touch them. And the fact that a Dalit girl, a 19-year-old girl, was raped and lost her life after 14 days in a hospital recently. And I mean, when I pray that we live to see a day where there is no caste system, and this is the same problem in Pakistan. And I don't know what we can do as human beings, as a human rights activist, as a social worker, what I can do all the way from America. And again, hopefully I get to come to India and then I can do some more stuff. But what are you taking any initiative against this? Are you taking a stand? What can we do? Because this needs to be eradicated in totality. It is absolutely appalling and preposterous to call someone from a specific caste in 2021.
So that's a lot of questions you raise. Let me go back to the first one about the Dalit girl being raped and murdered and then losing her life 14 days down. For me, India and Pakistan are the same people. It's the same country.
Absolutely.
There is no difference between Indians and Pakistanis in that sense. Like a very dear friend of mine, Jean-Claude Carrière, who's a fantastic writer, that describes us. He says it's the earth that unites you and the skies that separate you.
I agree.
So
I agree. And it's the foundation of bribery that also gets us together.
Same. So we have the same endemic problems. Like we're the same people. So we have the same endemic problems.
Right.
The same problems of caste, the same problems of privilege, the same problems of untouchability, if I may say so. Because even in Islam, there are castes and subcastes in the subcontinent. We're not just talking about everybody being together in front of Allah. There are many, I'm not going into.
There's Shias, there's Sunnis, all that.
Let's not even go into the Shia Sunni Ahmadi bits in this thing called the Boris or the everything in India and the Surtis, and there's a lot of
there are tons and tons and tons.
Tons and tons and tons. If you take Christianity in India, then there are Dalit Christians, then there are richer Christians, then there are upper caste Christians, then there are lower caste Christians. There's Syrian Christian, then there are Catholic Christians. It's like thousands of them. So we have an endemic problem in our countries and in our peoples. I think it's all of South Asia. If I may extend it to a little more, to Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, everywhere as well. It's a bit of an endemic problem. The second thing is, yes, in this whole morass of class and privilege conflict. If I may say it like this, I know there are ladies present, but if I may say it like this, I mean, a girl is good enough to be raped by an upper caste man, but she can't eat with him.
It's disgusting. It's absolutely despicable.
Just think about that. Think about it. She's absolutely divine to satisfy his lust.
Right.
But he cannot eat at the same table as he can, or live in the same house as he can.
Right.
That is absolutely disgusting. Number one. Number two, what happens is we can all fight. You're asking me what we are doing. Well, what Kirit is doing, what Pravesh is doing. We're all, even if I'm not part of the project, I'm I'm supporting them in every single way I can. In my own little ways, I do the same things, working with traditional artists from India, all over the world. We eat together, we sleep together, we are in the same, not sleep, not in that sense, but we in the same places. But we sort of happen to do things together, we perform together. It's a small step. I'm absolutely aware that in my lifetime I will not be able to change the system, but that doesn't mean that we stop trying. We'll just keep trying. We'll just keep fighting it as much as we can, and at least we would go back wherever we're going with the thought of knowing that we have given our best fight for this cause.
Has there ever been a film made on this subject by any of the mainstream actors? Amir, I know, used to do a wonderful talk show that I used to watch, Satyame Vijayate. I think it's over now.
Article 15 recently with Ayushmann Khurrana, with the same guy who made Thappad and the other movies that you were talking about.
Right.
The film called Article 15 is on something like this, and it was a very good film, and I think it's on Netflix for you to see.
Oh, okay.
You must watch it.
There are so many. You look at all of Said's films. All of Said's films are, talk of that year. If you talk of a very famous and probably a path-defining series called Nukkad, it talks of small.
It focuses on this subject.
Well, look at it. It's a small-time community. It's a very lower middle class kind of a community living together in Delhi, and I like what he said today, actually, about the Ganesh festival.
Yeah, Ganesh festival. Yeah, anyway, what he said.
So what he said today about this Ganesh festival, he said, this whole, you don't even know what a Ganesh festival means for a chawl or a juggi jhopri or a slum area in Bombay.
Right.
What it means for those people in that place is an assertion of rights to say, hey, boss, we are here. We are taking over the streets now. You can't stop us, So there is a very boisterous, loud, rambunctious kind of celebration in the streets, just to say, do not ignore us. We are not the invisible. We are not the visible invisible. We are right there. We are right under your noses. Do not build walls to hide us. We are right here. So there are many films. There are many filmmakers, many films, many projects that have been made on this. I mean, I think we're not going to be able to take all the names also.
We must watch Article 50.
Who acted in that? Article
Ayushmann Khurrana acted.
Ayushmann Khurrana.
I'm sorry, I don't know who that is.
But Rahul, I really liked when you said, even if we are aware that it's not going to change that soon, but we should never stop trying. That's very, very motivating. We all should never stop trying. At least if we all try and do our bit towards making those little changes, things can do wonders.
Absolutely.
On that note,
thank you guys. Anjali, I'll let you.
Yep. On that note, I would like to thank you, all of you, for taking your time out and joining Just a Conversation.
Puppy, thank you for being awake.
Thank you, Puppy. Thank you, Kiri. Thank
Rahul,
you, Rahul.
it was so nice to meet you. I'm sure we'll be in touch, and let's get the Sutta Bazi panel on here.
Yes.
Yep.
We cover issues such as domestic violence, human trafficking, discrimination, and many other topics that cover our issues universally. I know, and Anjali knows, that we're not going to be able to eradicate these issues in our lifetime. Nevertheless, we still want to be able to have just a conversation on these topics. We really hope that you will join us. We look forward to seeing you on our next episode coming soon. Thank you, and we hope you will be there watching Just a Conversation. Thank you.